Cadet Jack Hastings stared out the viewport as the transport shuttle approached the Galactic Naval Academy. The massive space station, shaped like a 12-pointed star with each arm housing a different academic discipline, gleamed against the backdrop of the purple-hued nebula it orbited. Jack's reflection showed a lanky 20-year-old with perpetually tousled brown hair and eyes that couldn't quite hide his anxiety beneath forced confidence. "First day jitters?" asked the pilot, a 6-armed Zen Centauri with metallic blue skin. "Don't worry, only about 30% of new cadets wash out in the first week." "Thanks. Super reassuring," Jack replied, straightening his crisp new uniform. The material, designed for a dozen different species' physiologies, felt stiff and uncomfortable. Humanity had joined the Galactic Confederation just 18 months ago, making Jack among the first batch of humans to attend the Academy. Earth, classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, had shocked the galactic community by producing sentient life at all. Most spacefaring species evolved on worlds with gravity about half of Earth's, atmospheric pressure significantly lower, and virtually no predatory threats. The shuttle docked with a gentle hiss, and Jack grabbed his regulation duffel. "Thanks for the ride." "Good luck, Deathworlder," the pilot called after him. "You'll need it." The orientation hall buzzed with activity as hundreds of cadets from nearly 30 species mingled awkwardly. Jack recognized some from the xenobiology briefings: the tree-like arboreals, the four-eyed quadorians, the gelatinous morphs contained in their hovering environmental suits. None of them approached him, though many stared. "You're standing in a draft," came a voice from approximately Jack's knee height. He looked down to see a feathered, avian-like creature with brilliant purple plumage. "We Kitari don't do well in drafts. Move." "Sorry," Jack stepped aside. "I'm Jack Hastings from Earth." "Earth," the Kitari's head crest flared. "The Deathworld." "I know of it. I am Plex. You should find the other human. Over there by the nutrition dispensers." Jack spotted her, a stocky woman with close-cropped black hair, standing with arms crossed, glaring at anyone who came near. He made his way over. "Hey, fellow Earthling. I'm Jack." "Kira Novak," she replied without uncrossing her arms. "Let me guess they've been treating you like you're either going to snap their necks or fail basic astrophysics." "Pretty much. Get used to it. 3 months I've been here, early admission, and it doesn't change. They think we're simultaneously too stupid and too dangerous." Her accent had traces of Eastern European origin. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden silence that fell across the hall. A tall, sinuous alien with iridescent scales and 4 upper limbs strode in, wearing the gold-trimmed white uniform of an Academy admiral. "That's Admiral Vreen Tox," Kira whispered. "Tactical genius, hates humans, heads the War Games program." The Admiral surveyed the room with 6 violet eyes arranged in a circle around his elongated head. "Welcome, cadets, to the 342nd training cycle of the Galactic Naval Academy. I am Admiral Vreen Tox. You are here because your respective worlds believe you have potential. Many of you are wrong." His gaze lingered on Jack and Kira. "This year's training cycle will culminate in the annual War Games. Teams will be assigned, battles will be simulated, careers will be made or broken. For many of you, these games will determine your future postings." His mouth, a horizontal slit beneath his eyes, curved in what might have been a smile. "Traditionally, first-year cadets perform poorly. Prove tradition wrong." After the orientation, cadets were directed to their quarters. Jack found himself assigned to a 4-person suite with 3 aliens. A nervous Praxian named Threx, who resembled a humanoid grasshopper, a bulky reptilian Drelk called Muzik, and a crystalline luminar who introduced himself as Nix-8. "So, Earth," Muzik said that evening as they arranged their belongings. "Is it true humans drink liquid dihydrogen monoxide daily?" "You mean water?" "Yeah." "Fascinating death wish," Muzik shuddered, scales rattling. "On my world, that's an industrial solvent." And so began Jack's first day at the Academy, where he was either avoided as a dangerous curiosity or questioned like a zoo exhibit. Classes weren't much better. In Xenostrategies 101, the instructor, a gelatinous Professor Globin, asked Jack to explain primitive human combat techniques, as if describing the behavior of single-celled organisms. The only bright spot came during his practical engineering course when he jury-rigged a failing gravity stabilizer using techniques that made his alien classmates gape in confusion. Humans, he overheard one Quadorian whisper to another, no finesse, but they get results. By the end of his first week, Jack knew two things with certainty. Humans were severely underestimated in this galactic community, and the upcoming war games were going to be his one chance to change that perception. Team assignments? Kira peered over Jack's shoulder at his datapad. Please tell me we're not. We are, Jack confirmed. Team Omega. You, me, and two others. Blast it to void. Team Omega is always the dumping ground for rejects and discipline cases. She kicked a nearby waste receptacle, causing several passing arboreals to rustle their leaves in alarm. War game teams were designated by Galactic Standard Alphabet, with Alpha being the elite squad and Omega being not. Jack scrolled through their team details. Threx, my Praxian roommate, he's our engineer. And someone named Zorlak, a Vespid strategist. They found their assigned team room significantly smaller and less equipped than the others they'd passed. Threx was already there, antennae twitching anxiously as his multiple arms rearranged equipment that looked several generations outdated. Hello, Jack. I see we're teammates. Threx's mandibles clicked nervously. I must inform you that I requested engineering lab duty instead of combat simulation, but was denied. We'll make it work, Jack assured him, though he wasn't feeling particularly confident. The door hissed open, and in strutted a Vespid humanoid with an exoskeleton, iridescent compound eyes, and translucent wings that fluttered with each step. Unlike Threx's nervous energy, the Vespid radiated smug superiority. I am Zorlak, graduate of the Vespid Tactical Academy, specialist in quantum battle theory, and your strategist. He paused, looking around with obvious disdain. Aim Omega. How predictable. I'm Jack, team leader. This is Kira, our combat specialist, and Threx, our engineer. Zorlak's antennae twitched in what Jack was learning to recognize as the insectoid equivalent of an eye roll. Two Deathworlders and a Praxian who jumps at his own shadow. Magnificent. Magnificent. What did we do to deserve this assignment? Kira growled. Their answer came an hour later when Admiral Vreen Tox personally delivered their mission parameters. Team Omega, he hissed, surveying them with undisguised amusement. Your assignment is simple. You will defend this position. He tapped the holographic display, highlighting a small rocky moon orbiting a gas giant against Team Alpha, led by Cadet Commander QA Vex. Jack's heart sank. QA Vex was in his fourth year, a Selenari whose photographic memory and strategic brilliance had made him a legend at the Academy. His team had won the war games 3 years running. What's on the moon that needs defending? Jack asked. Admiral Vreen Tox's mouth slit curved. Nothing of value. It is a standard simulation. You defend, they attack. You will have minimal resources, one light corvette, basic defensive arrays, and standard emergency provisions. After he left, Zorlak buzzed in frustration. We're being set up to fail. This moon is worthless, our equipment is outdated, and we're facing the Academy champion. When's the exercise? Jack asked. 10 standard days from now, Threx replied, checking the mission brief. Then we have 10 days to figure out how to win. Jack pulled up the moon's specifications and began studying them intently. Their first strategy session devolved into chaos within minutes. Conventional defensive positioning is our only option, insisted Zorlak, wings fluttering agitatedly. We deploy sensor arrays in a geocentric pattern and get picked off in the first 5 minutes, Kira interrupted. We need to be aggressive, take the fight to them before they reach the moon. We don't have the firepower, Threx stammered, manipulating a holographic representation of their assigned corvette. This Aurelian light beam is 2 generations outdated. The weapon systems aren't compatible with modern countermeasures. So we're screwed, Kira concluded, slumping back in her chair. Jack had been quiet, zooming in and out of the moon's topographical data. Maybe not, he finally said. Threx, what's this feature here? He pointed to an unusual formation on the moon's dark side. That's unusual. Threx's antennae perked up with academic interest. It appears to be a cluster of dense metallic deposits creating localized gravitational anomalies. And these spires? Natural formations. Crystalline structures several hundred meters tall. Jack grinned, the beginning of an idea forming. I think I know why this moon is worthless and how we can use that to our advantage. You want to do what? Zorlak's compound eyes reflected multiple images of Jack's puzzled face. I want to relocate our defensive arrays to these mountain peaks. Jack pointed to the holographic map, concentrate our sensor grid on the dark side approach vectors, and modify our corvette's engines to emit a specific radiation signature. The three aliens stared at him as if he'd suggested they all go skinny dipping in liquid nitrogen. That's not in any tactical manual I've studied, said Zorlak, mandibles twitching. That's the point, Jack replied. QA Vex has won 3 times using recognized strategies. He'll be expecting the same from us. Kira, who'd initially been skeptical, was beginning to look interested. You're thinking Earth military history, aren't you? Thermopylae? Little Bighorn? More like Agincourt and Salamis, Jack grinned. Terrain advantage against superior numbers. I don't understand these references, Threx said nervously. But I believe I can reconfigure the arrays as you suggest. Though it will leave our primary approach vectors completely unmonitored. Exactly, Jack nodded. Over the next several days, they worked tirelessly. Jack's unconventional leadership style involving actual physical labor alongside his team bewildered his alien teammates. You don't need to assist with the calibrations, Threx told him as they worked on a sensor array. That's not proper leader behavior. On Earth, we have a saying, never ask your team to do something you wouldn't do yourself. Threx's antennae wiggled in what Jack had learned was his equivalent of a thoughtful frown. Curious philosophy. Different from Praxian hierarchy. Meanwhile, Kira was drilling in the Corvette simulator, pushing the outdated ship far beyond its intended parameters. The structural integrity fields can't handle these maneuvers, the simulator's AI warned. They will if we route emergency power from life support, she replied, executing another bone-crushing turn. But that would be lethal to organic life forms. Kira grinned. Not to Deathworlders with proper breathing apparatus. Zorlak, initially resistant to Jack's leadership, gradually became intrigued as the human explained his strategy. Your approach lacks elegance, the Vespid admitted, but contains a certain primitive cunning. The crystalline formations would indeed create sensor shadows large enough to hide our corvette. Word spread through the Academy about Team Omega's strange preparations. Other cadets would gather at the observation deck to watch them work. The Deathworlders are reconfiguring everything, they whispered. Admiral Vreen Tox will fail them for deviation from standard protocols. Indeed, the Admiral himself came to inspect their progress, his 6 eyes narrowing as he surveyed their unconventional setup. Cadet Hastings, he hissed. You've repositioned the defensive arrays against recommended configurations. Yes, sir. The terrain suggested an alternative approach. And your Corvette modifications? They appear haphazard. Jack stood at attention. Adaptations to mission parameters, sir. The Admiral's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. Very well. Create your own failure as you see fit. As he left, Jack overheard him speaking to another officer. I've placed significant credits on Team Alpha. This will be over in minutes. The night before the war games, Team Omega gathered in their cramped quarters for a final briefing. Tomorrow we face an opponent with superior numbers, technology, and experience, Jack said. They expect us to lose quickly and conventionally. So we'll lose slowly and unconventionally? Threx asked nervously. No, Jack smiled, pulling up a holographic diagram of their modified defenses and the moon's unique features. We're going to win in exactly 15 minutes. Here's how. The observation deck was packed with cadets and instructors as the war games commenced. Team Alpha's sleek assault cruiser, the Swift Justice, emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the system, a predatory shark to Team Omega's minnow. Behind the main vessel followed a squadron of attack drones and 2 support ships. Team Alpha has deployed standard conquest formation, announced the commentator, Ecuadorian tactical instructor. A textbook approach from Cadet Commander QA Vex. QA Vex himself appeared on the main view screen, a striking Selenari with silver skin and glowing blue photoreceptors where eyes would be on a human. His species communicated partially through bioluminescent patterns that now pulsed with confidence. Team Omega, this is Cadet Commander QA Vex. As tradition dictates, I offer you the opportunity to surrender with honor before combat begins. On their corvette, now positioned in lunar orbit, Jack exchanged glances with his team before responding. As Team Alpha, we respectfully decline and wish you good hunting. Murmurs rippled through the observation deck. No one declined surrender to QA Vex. Very well, the Selenari's lights pulsed in what analysts later described as amused contempt. Combat commences in 3 minutes. As the countdown began, Jack turned to his team. Everyone remember the plan? Kira nodded from the pilot's seat, hands hovering over controls modified to her specifications. Get them to chase us through the Crystal Valley. I've programmed the defensive arrays to activate on your signal. Threx confirmed from the engineering station, his multiple limbs working various controls simultaneously. The strategy remains untested and probabilistically questionable, Zorlak added from tactical, but I admit it has creative merit. That's the spirit, Jack grinned, taking his position at the command chair. Let's make history. The battle began with Team Alpha launching a full-spectrum scan of the moon, standard procedure before an assault. They're not detecting our defensive array modifications, Threx reported excitedly. The mineral deposits are masking our signature just as you predicted. Now for Phase 1, Jack ordered. Kira, full impulse, make it look like we're running scared. Their corvette, the Lucky Break, burst from behind the moon on a trajectory that appeared to be a desperate escape attempt. Almost immediately, Team Alpha dispatched their drone fighters in pursuit. They took the bait, Kira reported, executing a wobbly evasive maneuver that made the ship appear damaged or poorly piloted. On the observation deck, Admiral Vreen watched with 6 narrowed eyes. A childish feint. QA Vex will not be fooled. Indeed, the main Alpha cruiser did not give chase, instead launching a second wave of drones on a different vector. He's splitting his forces, Zorlak observed, attempting to flank us. Perfect, Jack smiled. Threx, status on our little surprises? Ready on your mark, the Praxian confirmed, antenna quivering with unusual excitement. The Lucky Break led its pursuers on a twisting chase through the massive crystalline formations on the moon's dark side. The drones, faster but less maneuverable, struggled to maintain their pursuit through the natural labyrinth. Now, Jack ordered as they reached a particular formation they designated the amphitheater, a circular valley surrounded by towering crystal spires. Kira cut the main engines, instead firing maneuvering thrusters in a precise sequence that sent the corvette into a controlled spin. Simultaneously, Threx activated the modified defensive arrays they'd hidden among the crystals. Instead of firing conventional weapons, the arrays emitted precisely calibrated gravitational pulses that resonated with the moon's natural anomalies. The crystalline spires began to vibrate, creating a cascading energy effect. On the observation deck, cadets gasped as the sensor readings went haywire. "What's happening?" demanded Admiral Vreen. "Those aren't standard defensive measures." The pursuing drones, caught in the resonance field, began to spin out of control. Several crashed into crystal formations. Others collided with each other as their navigation systems failed. Meanwhile, the Lucky Break rode the gravitational waves like a surfer riding an ocean swell. using the chaos they'd created to slingshot themselves toward Team Alpha's main cruiser. QA Vex, visibly stunned on the command view screen, began issuing rapid orders. Evasive maneuvers. Recalibrate sensors. Target that corvette. But it was too late. The distraction had worked, giving Team Omega the opening they needed for the next phase of their plan. Jack, Zorlak's voice carried unusual respect. Your human battle history lessons were surprisingly applicable. Jack grinned. Horatio Nelson at Trafalgar. Break the line, create chaos, pick your targets. Now for Phase 2. 5 minutes elapsed, announced the War Games AI referee dispassionately. Team Alpha has lost 40% of drone capacity. Team Omega corvette approaching Alpha cruiser on attack vector. The observation deck erupted in shocked commentary. No first-year team had ever managed to inflict such damage on Team Alpha, let alone the reject squad. Aboard the Lucky Break, Jack watched the tactical display as they rocketed toward the Swift Justice. Kira, execute Crazy Ivan on my mark. Ready, she confirmed, fingers dancing across the controls. Deathworlder reflexes gave her advantages in piloting that her alien counterparts couldn't match. Zorlak, status on their shields? The Vespid strategist, now fully invested in their unorthodox plan, responded promptly. Their forward shields are at maximum, aft shields at 60%, presumably reduced to divert power forward in anticipation of our approach. Threx? Gravitational anomaly calculations complete. The Praxian engineer replied, his natural nervousness now channeled into hyperfocus. Firing solution plotted. Jack ordered. What happened next would be analyzed in tactical classes for years to come. The Lucky Break executed a maneuver that should have torn a ship of its size apart, a rapid 180-degree spin while maintaining forward momentum, essentially flying backward at full speed. Simultaneously, they fired not at the Alpha cruiser but at the moon's surface at a precisely calculated point. The explosion kicked up a massive debris cloud exactly as the corvette disappeared into it. On Alpha's sensors, it appeared the Omega ship had crashed. Deathworlder pilot error. QA Vex concluded with visible relief on the command view screen. Resume standard mission. Target defensive emplacements. But Jack's team wasn't done. While Alpha's sensors were confused by the debris cloud, the Lucky Break had actually executed another turn, using the moon's gravitational anomalies to slingshot themselves directly toward the Alpha cruiser's aft section where the shields were weakest. Threx, status on our special package? Jack asked. Now. Ready for deployment, the engineer confirmed. Though I still maintain this violates the spirit of several regulations. But not the letter, Jack grinned. Deploy on my mark. As they emerged from the debris cloud directly behind the unsuspecting Alpha cruiser, they launched what appeared to be a standard maintenance drone, but which they had reprogrammed as an electronic warfare platform. They've spotted us, Kira reported as warning lights flashed across her console. Too late, Jack replied calmly. Zorlak, status? The Vespid's compound eyes reflected multiple tactical displays. Electronic infiltration in progress. Their systems are, yes, compromised. Aboard the Swift Justice, confusion reigned as systems began shutting down seemingly at random. QA Vex's bioluminescent patterns flashed in patterns that Academy linguists later translated as extremely creative profanity. How are they doing this? The Selenari demanded, scan for intrusion vectors. But Team Omega had moved to the final phase of their plan. While Alpha's crew was distracted by the electronic attack, the Lucky Break executed a precise series of maneuvers through the massive crystalline formations they had spent days studying. Each turn, each acceleration was timed to leverage the moon's gravitational anomalies. 10 minutes elapsed, noted the AI referee. Team Alpha cruiser experiencing multiple system failures. Team Omega corvette executing unidentified tactical pattern. On the observation deck, Admiral Vreen Tox watched in growing disbelief as his sure bet crumbled. What pattern is this? It's not in any tactical database. Next to him, A human exchange instructor smiled slightly. It's a boxer's weave, Admiral. Bobbing and weaving to avoid superior firepower while looking for an opening. Indeed, the lucky break was dancing around the Swift Justice like a nimble boxer circling a stronger but slower opponent. Each time the Alpha Cruiser managed to target them, they would disappear behind another crystalline formation or leverage another gravitational anomaly to change direction impossibly fast. Meanwhile, Threx's reprogrammed maintenance drone was wreaking havoc with Alpha's systems from within. Brilliant application of asymmetric warfare, Zorlak admitted, watching his tactical displays with growing excitement. They cannot fight what they cannot understand. Kira, sweat beading on her forehead as she pushed both ship and self to their limits, flashed a fierce grin. In Earth terms, we're using guerrilla tactics against a conventional army. Works every time. Almost every time, Jack corrected. Threx, status on their weapons? Primary weapons offline, the Praxian reported. Secondary arrays at minimal functionality. Their targeting systems are compromised. Perfect. Kira, execute final approach. Zorlak, prepare the coup de grace. The lucky break suddenly broke pattern, accelerating directly toward the Swift Justice in what appeared to be a suicidal charge. What are they doing? Gasped observers on the deck. Ramming speed? But at the last possible moment, they veered off not away from the cruiser, but into a precise position relative to both the cruiser and one of the largest crystalline formations. Now, Jack ordered. Zorlak fired their ship's sole remaining photon torpedo not at the Alpha cruiser, but at the massive crystal spire. The impact created exactly the chain reaction they'd calculated, sending crystalline shrapnel cascading into the Swift Justice's sensor array. Blinded and with systems failing, the Alpha cruiser was effectively neutralized. 14 minutes 45 seconds elapsed, announced the AI referee. Team Alpha cruiser has suffered critical systems failure. Combat effectiveness reduced to 12%. Jack opened a channel to the Swift Justice. Team Alpha, this is Team Omega. We offer you the opportunity to surrender with honor before combat continues. On screen, QA Vex's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with what could only be described as stunned disbelief. After a moment of silence that seemed to stretch forever, he responded. Team Omega, we accept your offer of honorable surrender. 15 minutes elapsed, the AI referee announced. Combat simulation concluded. Victory, Team Omega. The docking bay erupted in chaos as Team Omega's corvette returned to the Academy. Cadets of all species crowded around, trying to get a glimpse of the underdogs who had shocked the institution. Jack led his team down the gangway, all of them showing the fatigue of their intense 15-minute battle. Is it true you used the moon's crystalline formations as weapons? Called out an arboreal cadet. Did you really repurpose a maintenance drone as an electronic warfare platform? Asked another. Admiral Vreen Tox cut through the crowd, his 6 eyes fixed on Team Omega. The gathering fell silent as he approached. Cadet Hastings, the Admiral's voice was carefully neutral. Your team's performance was unexpected. Jack stood at attention. Thank you, sir. I did not say it was praiseworthy. The Admiral's scales rippled. Your methods were unorthodox, potentially destructive to Academy property, and definitely not in accordance with standard tactical doctrine. With respect, sir, Jack replied, the mission parameters did not specify adherence to standard doctrine. Only mission success. A tense silence followed. Then, to everyone's shock, Admiral Vreen Tox's mouth slit curved in what might have been a smile. Correct, Cadet. Mission success was indeed the only parameter. He raised his voice to address the gathered crowd. Let this be a lesson to all cadets. In real combat against real adversaries, victory often goes not to those with superior firepower or numbers, but to those who think beyond established parameters. He turned back to Jack. Though I would appreciate advance notice next time you plan to use a moon's natural features as weaponry. The simulation repair crews are quite distressed. As the Admiral walked away, Zorlak buzzed in disbelief. He just complimented us? In his way, Jack nodded. And I think I just lost him a considerable amount of credits in the betting pool. QA Vex approached next, his silver skin reflecting the bay lights and his bioluminescent patterns pulsing in a formal pattern. Team Omega, he said with evident difficulty, you fought unconventionally. But effectively, Kira added, unable to keep the satisfaction from her voice. The Selenari's lights pulsed in acknowledgement. Indeed, I have never encountered such tactics. They would not have occurred to me. That was the idea, Jack explained. You were expecting a conventional defense from a conventional opponent. But humans are not conventional, QA Vex observed, something like respect in his modulated voice. A lesson I will not forget. Later, Team Omega celebrated in their quarters. Threx had somehow acquired a selection of species-appropriate intoxicants, while Zorlak had brought tactical simulation recordings of their victory. Look at this maneuver. The Vespid pointed excitedly, wings fluttering. Completely absent from any tactical manual, yet mathematically elegant when analyzed post facto. Did you see their faces when we offered them surrender? Kira laughed, raising her glass of what humans would consider rocket fuel, but she considered a light drink. Worth every minute of preparation. We have received 17 interview requests from Academy media outlets, Threx noted, checking his communicator. And oh my, a commendation from the engineering faculty for creative utilization of gravitational anomalies. Jack smiled, watching his improbable team no longer misfits, but pioneers of a new tactical approach. Not bad for Team Omega. A chime at their door interrupted the celebration. Jack opened it to find a senior officer he didn't recognize, a Luminar, their crystalline body glowing with internal light. Cadet Hastings? I am Commander Lux 9, Office of Special Projects. The Luminar's voice chimed like glass bells. Your team's performance today has attracted attention beyond the Academy. Good attention or bad attention? Jack asked cautiously. That depends on your perspective. How would your team feel about a special assignment during the academic break? There's a situation developing in the Cygnus sector that might benefit from unconventional thinking. Jack glanced back at his teammates, who were listening with varying expressions of interest and alarm. What kind of situation? The kind that standard tactical doctrine has failed to resolve, Commander Lux 9 replied. The kind that might require 15 minutes of creative chaos. Jack grinned. In that case, Commander, I think we're exactly the team you're looking for. As the commander left with a promise to return with details, Jack rejoined his celebrating team. Their victory had changed everything, not just for them, but potentially for how the entire Galactic Confederation viewed humans. To Team Omega, he raised his glass, where 15 minutes is all it takes. To Deathworlders, Kira added with a fierce grin. To unconventional thinking, Zorlak buzzed. To surviving another day, Threx clicked nervously, but with clear pride. And somewhere in the vast academy, records were being updated, tactical manuals revised, and assumptions about certain primitive Deathworlders thoroughly reconsidered.